It was a game that Syracuse desperately needed to win, and the Orange got it done today, a 12-8 final over Johns Hopkins on the road. It was a team effort all around, from goalkeeping to scoring. SU was complete from start to finish. Jimmy McCool showed why he's the backbone of SU, and Joey Spallina did not shy away from the spotlight here this afternoon. Even the defense as a whole should be given all its props. A solid win overall for Syracuse in an important road stretch of the year. But we're at home in our CitrusTV studio and ready to break it down. Syracuse and Hopkins, the Orange get the win on Orange Press Pass. We welcome you inside our CitrusTV studio on Orange Press Pass, breaking down this Syracuse 4-goal win over Johns Hopkins. Nico, Jish, Sokolsky, and Nick King. Guys, a big win for the Orange. They got that overtime win over Penn, and now you beat a team that is probably a little bit better, neck and neck in the rankings, and Syracuse really looked complete from start to finish.
I agree, and my first thought today, Nico, is we are done doubting number 22. There's been this horrible narrative that Joey Spallina can't play well in big games. Well, guess what? 4 goals, 3 assists today. He put all of those narratives straight to bed. I just feel like whenever he plays bad, all of a sudden those games are the ones that become bigger than they actually are. When in reality, Joey Spallina has been doing this. Remember the Princeton game from last year. Remember the Maryland game from earlier this year. It's time to stop doubting number 22, Nick.
Yeah, for me, it's time to start doubting Jimmy McCool because he's just the best goalkeeper in the country. There's a reason he was the ACC goalkeeper of the year last season. So far this year, he's been money. He entered the day with the 7th best save percentage nationally. Added on to that with a stellar performance against Johns Hopkins. I love what I'm seeing out of Jimmy McCool. He has stepped up his game, and he's somebody that this Orange team can really depend on down the line.
McCool was legit, Spallina was legit, and the Syracuse team was on it from start to finish down in Baltimore, as we show you what happened here earlier today between the Cuse and the Blue Jays of Johns Hopkins, the 2 winningest programs all time in lacrosse. And it started out on the right note for Syracuse. Luke Roa with the first goal. He also got decked right after that. When I first saw that, I didn't even see the ball go in the net. I was too busy looking at Roa.
That's how you set the tone in the first quarter. Get the first goal. Be one where you eat one. Take the physicality that this game is certainly going to bring.
Billy Dwan puts the Orange up 4-2, and the assist by Finn Thompson, his 3rd goal of the season for Dwan. And then just moments later, Chuck Rawson on the man-up opportunity for Johns Hopkins kept the Blue Jays sticking around in the first half.
Yeah, Johns Hopkins was hanging around, but Syracuse's defense did a nice job disrupting the Hopkins offensive rhythm.
No doubt, the defense was on it again from start to finish. Joey Spallina, though, 4 goals today. He was the one that was the separator for Syracuse, and that produced a 2-goal advantage for the Orange at halftime. And right off the bat, DeJuan again, the long stick from the assist by Jimmy McCool. Syracuse up 7-4.
You could tell he was fired up to play in Baltimore. That's where DeJuan is from, probably playing in front of some parents, family, and he had 2 goals today. What a great performance from DeJuan.
Got to give props to the goaltending there from Johns Hopkins, and JHU making a late move late in the 3rd. Charlie Eiler gets it to go. Now it's just a 2-goal game once again, and you're looking for that 4th quarter separation. Well, here it is, none other than 22. Spallina, 4 goals today, 4th hat trick of the year as well.
Yeah, spectacular performance from Spallina. This is what we've been missing over the last 2 games from big number 22.
And then Luke Roa, why not another? Snipes it home for Syracuse. The Orange up 9-5, slowly creating that separation once again. And then it came down to this. John Mullen off the faceoff, punches it home, and Syracuse will go up 10-6 and win it 12-8 over Johns Hopkins. A 4-goal victory for the Cuse, and 2 goals from Roa. Spallina 4. Finn Thompson had quite the game as well with a couple of assists. His first multi-assist game of the season. Very complete win. I think that's probably the best way to describe it.
Right, and the scoring wasn't necessarily stretched out, as you said, Nico. A couple of guys had multiple goals. DeJuan had 2 goals. Luke Roa had 2 dazzling goals. But you got to look at the top of the ticket. Joey Spallina, 4 goals, 7 points in a game Syracuse really needed to get its offense back on track. It delivered.
Finn Thompson has been arguably one of the most consistent players on this team, arguably the most consistent player on the attack, period. His 4th straight game with 2 or more goals. This is a guy that Syracuse can depend on, maybe even more so than Joey Spallina.
Oh, I want to know about that.
never know. Spallina, McCool, they all got to get clicking at some point for the Orange to produce going forward. Well, one person who was down in Baltimore was our reporter, Cole Purvis, and there he is. Good to see you once again, Cole. We had you on for Q's Countdown during the pregame show, and it's good to see you now after Syracuse wins it 8-4. At what point in the game was this the separator for Syracuse? At what point were you like, all right, the Orange were able to create separation and end up with a victory today?
I thought the beginning of the second half, especially defensively, is where this game really slipped. It spun on its head. Yes, SU went into the break up by 2 goals, but the defense in the second half was excellent, and the short stick defensive middies, Jaden Kittleberger and Jake Spallina, were excellent in this game, providing physicality against some great scorers for the Blue Jays, especially Hunter Chauvet, who has 16 goals to his name this season. Kind of shut him down, as well as the rest of this Blue Jay offense. So I thought that was really where SU came out and was the most physical and really flipped this game on its head.
Cole, good to see you, buddy. The big question, I think, on most Syracuse fans' minds last week wasn't really good offensively. Today they scored 12 goals, kind of back in the saddle. In your opinion, what was the biggest thing that changed today versus last week when they failed to score in double digits in both games?
Jish, it was easily the unselfishness from Syracuse. And you look at the moment where Billy Dwan scored his first goal. It was a pass on the doorstep to Finn Thompson, who could have easily put it home, but he opted to pass it to the long pole. And Billy Dwan said in the postgame that he was yelling so hard for the ball, and he finally got it, and he put it home. And it's those types of goals, the goals from the long poles, that really get the bench energized. And I thought that his contributions offensively were great. And then Joey Spallina, especially showing the vision that he did in the first half. 3 assists in just the first half alone. I thought he was excellent in finding the other scorers on this team. And then he got his, don't get me wrong, 4 goals to his name as well. So I thought the unselfishness from SU's attackers today were a big reason for the offensive success.
Yeah, Cole, thank you so much for joining us. You already hinted at it. Hunter Chauvet, just 1 goal on the day for Johns Hopkins. And as a team, they only had 4 assists. They entered averaging 9, which was the 5th most nationally. What did Syracuse's defense do that really limited this Blue Jays offense?
Well, one thing was the physicality around the crease that SU displayed. I thought Jimmy McCool was excellent in this game and turning away a lot of shots. But another thing was the ride from Syracuse, which they deployed in the first half, not even allowing Johns Hopkins to get the ball onto their side of the field and not allowing them to create a ton of time of possession. So I thought SU was very physical, like I mentioned earlier, putting on some big hits and then combining that with Jimmy McCool's excellent play in net. It was a complete performance overall, but I thought the defense was the biggest highlight in this one, to shut down a really good Johns Hopkins offense. So they have a lot to feel good about going into 2 matchups in Colorado. And the road trip is kind of turning around after 2 tough losses to Harvard and Princeton early on. Now they've got things back on track.
Defense was legit start to finish. McCool with the fewest amount of goals allowed all season long. That's Cole Purvis. Thanks for joining us, Cole, here on Orange Press Pass, and safe travels back to Syracuse. All right, we're not done yet. We got plenty more here on Orange Press Pass, and when we come back, we'll dive into this one just a bit more. Don't go anywhere here on Citrus TV. Syracuse gets it done over Johns Hopkins today, 12-8 the final score. Nico Horning, Jish, Sokolsky, and Nick King breaking this one down between Syracuse and Hopkins. There were some other games going on, though, around the NCAA today, and there's some updated scores for you. Richmond, who I know Nick King, you're very high on, they got a 4-goal win over Georgetown.
I had them as a preseason sneaky Final Four team to make championship weekend. I said that on the Maryland Orange Press Pass. Listen, they're not sneaky anymore. The Spiders are insanely good. Ranked number 2, handled a good Georgetown team who Syracuse faces in just about 2 weeks.
Jish, what stands out to you on there?
I'm looking at the Battle of the Garden State down there. Princeton scored how many on Rutgers? That's some friendly fire if I've ever seen it. Princeton 20-9. They might be a national title contender.
And
look
St.
at Penn
Joseph's
State
as well, also in there.
Yeah, Penn State as well. Cornell, they beat them by 12. That's the defending national champions. The Nittany Lions have been so inconsistent, but they absolutely dominate the Big Red today.
Cornell, a double-digit loss. Quite the surprise there, as you just highlighted, Nick. And around the ACC as well, there are some games going on. North Carolina with a 19-7 victory over Brown, and then Notre Dame, Ohio State, tight in the fourth.
It's like a national championship football game. I like that Ohio State is keeping it close. There just seems to be a curse of #1 ranked teams in all of college lacrosse this year. Syracuse had it for 1 week. North Carolina had it for 1 week. Does Notre Dame fall as well? It's not looking the most promising against a really good Ohio State team.
Yeah, this would be the 4th straight week that the #1 team lost. We're the Fighting Irish to lose. I'm looking at that Duke Air Force game. The fact that Duke is only up 7 in the 3rd quarter. I know what you're saying. Nick, they're up 7 goals. Air Force is terrible. They're so bad. That should be a double-digit lead by halftime for the Blue Devils.
And Nick, let's say Notre Dame does pull this thing out. Are you looking at Notre Dame or Richmond as the '1 team?
I'm looking at Richmond 100%. I think the Spiders are just that dynamic. Do I think they'll hold that ranking and maybe be the national champion? But you look at the resume, I think the Spiders are just a little bit better.
All right, back to the Syracuse game. It was complete start to finish, especially offensively between Finn Thompson and Joey Spallina. These two were really good today, I think, on all cylinders, and especially for Joey to step up in a game like this, he got it done.
Oh, I'm looking more at the beginning of the game. To me, it seems like Finn Thompson set the table, and then Joey Spallina was the one eating off of that. It was Thompson who set the tone. Lest we forget, Thompson was the one who scored before Spallina and was getting involved a little bit before Spallina. And because he became such a threat, the defense slid over to 23 a little more, and that left so much room for 22 to operate. But we cannot downplay the fact that Spallina was also creating his own opportunities. I love seeing that from Spallina today.
Yeah, I mean, he finally did it. He finally ate off the plate that his team had set up because Joey Spallina had just 1 goal in his last 2 games. The last time he had a hat trick or more was against Maryland 4 weeks ago. But I'm looking at Finn Thompson. This is the first time he's had 2 assists all season. Had just 2 on the season period entering this game. When the Orange are moving the ball like this, Joey Spallina and other attackers are just capable of being effective. And you look at the full screen right here on your screen. Joey Spallina, 18 goals this season, 14 assists. He is this team's best attacker. But don't sleep on Finn Thompson. He's moving from the midfield to the attack, and he's still managed to tally 13 goals. He's had, as I said earlier, 2 goals in each of his last 4. He's the most consistent guy on this squad.
And you know, it was a really big question coming into the year. How does Syracuse replace Owen Hilt, who was really the Robin to Spallina's Batman last season? Thompson's stepping up really nicely. He was hurt a lot last year, missed 5 games, but he's coming back and he's proven why he deserves to be the #2 option on this team. Michael Leo's still good, Luke Rowe is still good, but to me, this is Spallina and Thompson's team.
Yeah, you got a good point there. And I think defensively, too, this team really stepped up today, and really from the jump in the first quarter, because Johns Hopkins turned the ball over 9 times, and Syracuse really set the tone defensively from the start.
Yeah, Syracuse was money defensively. I mean, Johns Hopkins entered this game with one of the fewest turnover per game marks in the entire country, and Syracuse turned them over 12 times in the first 25 minutes. Now, Syracuse only managed to call 7 of those turnovers, but the fact that Hopkins had 16 and they averaged just 13 on the season is truly encouraging for this Orange unit. And then I'm also looking at that clear percentage, just Hopkins under 80%. That's so good for this Syracuse team.
I mean, that's something that's been a talking point for Syracuse for years. The attackmen, the midfielders, they're going to play aggressively on the 10-man ride. They're going to make life hell for you if you try to clear that ball. And early in the game, they set the tone. The second goal of the game was a transition goal off a forced turnover in the midfield. That's really what set Syracuse over the edge and made Hopkins just play scared the rest of the way, and that's why Syracuse cruised to victory.
You see Syracuse's clear percentage on that screen. What you don't see is Hopkins. They were under 80%, as I referenced. They entered the game with the second best clear percentage nationally at 94%. Their total today was their worst since a loss to Virginia in 2024, but 16 turnovers caused and 14 saves. You can't lose that. You'll never lose that game if you're Syracuse, if your defense is that effective.
And you can't talk about the defense without the goaltending of Jimmy McCool, who was excellent today, the fewest number of goals he's allowed all season. Do you think, A, was it his best game of the season, and B, can he ride this the rest of the way, and Syracuse is going to have to fall back on him?
I would say it's his best game of the season, without a doubt. He didn't have his most saves, but he faced a ton of shots against Princeton. Yep. That's why he had 17 there. But 14 saves, and there are just plenty of things that don't show up in the box score. A lot of things you just had to watch the game and see what he was doing. Hopkins had long, sustained, multi-shot possessions, and it was McCool who was in net hyping up the rest of the defense, who was out there celebrating every save, doing the little things that won't show up on a box score. He was the one saving things with his knees. And all the tough plays that had to be made, he was making them. Yeah, Syracuse's defense played well, and the shots were kind of all over the place from Hopkins, don't get me wrong. But when McCool was called upon, he answered time and time again. He is elite, Nick.
53 shots faced, 22 shots on goal, saved 14 of them. That's good for 63%. You heard it on the national broadcast on ESPN, how his name is fitting because he is cool as a cucumber. He's averaging nearly 60% save percentage on the season. His 14 saves were the second most he's had all season, and he's been over 50% in saves in every game he's had this season. He's been incredible.
When it comes to player of the game, I think Jimmy McCool's got a great point, as Nick and Jish just highlighted, but you got to give it to Joey Spallina. We talked a lot in Q's Countdown about whether or not Spallina would step up today against Johns Hopkins at this point in the season when he's been a little inconsistent. He's been known in the past to have solid games against Hopkins, 4 or 5 points here and there every year. This year, 7 points, 4 goals, 3 assists for Spallina. He was hot from start to finish and really was the separator today for Syracuse. And you talk about some of the other guys who were there offensively with the versatility that Syracuse has, but Spallina was the one who was the backbone, gets a nice goal there in front of the cage, and Spallina was dominant today for Syracuse. All right, we'll have much more on the other side here on Orange Press Pass. Spallina is your player of the game, and we've got some more coming up next.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Syracuse wins its second straight over Johns Hopkins, or rather, of the season over Johns Hopkins, 12-8 the final. Nico Horning, Jish Sokolsky, and Nick King back with you. It's time to have some fun, and we're going to play Take Your Pick here on Orange Press Pass. All right, let's take some picks here, shall we?
Sure.
Maybe pick a deck of cards. I want to ask you, Jish, first. Is it going to be the Syracuse offense or defense that's going to carry this team the rest of the way this season?
Nico, the old adage rings true. Defense wins championships. Let me bring on a stat real quick. Syracuse, when it allows more than 10 goals, 0-2. When it allows under 10 goals, 5-0. This team goes as far as the defense will take it. If the defense starts slow, the whole team starts slow, and the offense just cannot carry the load. Syracuse needs to be allowing under 10 goals per game to get these marquee wins, and with the talent that's on defense, your Riley Figueres's, your Billy Dwans, and of course your Jimmy McCool's in net, I think the defense can be driven upon. There's so much talk about your Spalinas and Thompsons of the world, but it's the defense that's doing the dirty work, and every time they're on, Syracuse as a whole team is on, and they've won every single game that the defense has showed up to. That's why the defense is going to win it all.
Yeah, Jish, I understand what you're saying. The defense has been solid for this team so far, but for me, it's pretty obviously the offense, because nobody is saying, oh, this is Billy Dwan's team. Oh, this is Jimmy McCool's team. It's Joey Spalina's team, and he's part of that offensive attack. He's the motor that makes this team go. Without Joey Spalina's attack and his presence, this team goes nowhere. When this team wins, it's because Spalina and the offense show out. You saw that against Maryland. You saw that today against Johns Hopkins. The defense might be the most consistent, but the offense is dictating whether or not this team wins games. You saw that against Princeton. Holding them just 11, that's a game that Syracuse should win if their offense isn't completely terrible. I mean, you look at your full screen, what's on your screen right now, Syracuse averaging 12 goals per game, but when they lose, and even against Penn, the offense is just not clicking, and that's why those games are so tighter, even just losses.
I think both of you have a viable point, but there is no orange without Spalina. I mean, that's the face of it right now with Syracuse. Now, Nick, I'll start with you. Maybe Jish can rebound here. John Mullen, after a solid performance today, is he back, and can he carry this team the rest of the year?
No, of course he's not back. Of course he's not back. This Johns Hopkins face-off unit is absolutely trash. They're not good against ranked opponents, which they've played 2 entering this game. Hopkins had a 35% win percentage at the face-off X, and all John Mullen could do was win 55% of them. He needs to dominate these teams. He's just not doing that. I am so disappointed in what I've seen from John Mullen, and teams are catching on. He's not the X factor that we all thought he would be this season.
I think John Mullen has a lot of pressure on him, but I'm going to disagree with you, Nick, because John Mullen, yeah, he only won 55%, but you can only play who's in front of you. And winning 11 faceoffs at crucial times when Syracuse needed to eat up clock and win the ball back for their offense, he was there and he did it. I think John Mullen is squarely back. Yes, the numbers might not be the same as they were last year when he went on that generational run. There's just more tape on him now. But the fact that he can kind of withstand that first blowback and he's still coming out and winning the majority by himself, and he scored a goal today, I'm thinking Johnny Mullen is 100% back, and I'm very, very confident that this performance is just the start of what will be a successful season.
That's absolutely ludicrous, Jish. You look at the games he's dominated, and they've been against absolute trash cans. Against Princeton, he was terrible. Against Penn, he was terrible. 55% face-off win percentage when you're still in the early part of the season is not good enough.
John Mullen, he's going to have to carry Syracuse the rest of the way to an extent. But then you can look at Jimmy McCool, you can look at Joey Spalina, and you can even look at this guy in our moment of the game, Billy Dwan, with the goal at the start of the third quarter. Now, let me set the precedent a little bit here. You see the score, 6-4. Syracuse created that 2-goal separation before halftime, and it was up to Billy Dwan here, the long stick for Syracuse, to extend that lead for the Orange after halftime with the assist from Jimmy McCool. What a strike here from Dwan. And that is your moment of the game, Billy Dwan. All right, we've got more coming up on the other side. We'll look at the schedule and what Syracuse has to do down the line to keep this thing going. Don't go anywhere on Orange Press Pass.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Wrapping up shop here on Orange Press Pass as Syracuse comes out victorious at Johns Hopkins. Alongside Jish, Sokolsky, and Nick King, I'm Nico Horning, and maybe Syracuse can build off this win today. They've now won 2 in a row after that overtime win against Penn. They got the win over Hopkins today, and an upcoming schedule for Syracuse might be a little challenging as they continue to hit the road out in Colorado.
I mean, Nick's been saying it all show. This Air Force team is nothing to write home about. This is going to be another win. And I don't think that it's going to be particularly close either. I think that Air Force win is going to be like the Manhattan game last year. That was an 18-2 win for Syracuse. I think something similar could be on the horizon in Colorado.
I think this team should win all 4 of these games going into a showdown with Duke, or not Duke rather. Win all 4 of these before you face UNC and Notre Dame. Georgetown is hot and cold. Syracuse should win that at home. Duke, you saw them play in Air Force, not that great. And then Denver, they're terrible at the face-off X, and they've only played 1 ranked team so far this season. Should be 4 W's for this Q squad.
Syracuse not back in the Dome for over a couple of weeks until that Georgetown game. We'll see what they can do in Colorado. All right, based off the game today, Syracuse and Hopkins, it's time for a couple of our analysts to do a little sound off based on the contest today.
There's a certain mysticism that surrounds the Syracuse versus Hopkins lacrosse game every year. After all, it's called the greatest rivalry in the sport. But what happens now that Syracuse has won 3 in a row? Well, let me borrow a quote from my friend Joel Embiid. It's not a rivalry. They always kick our butts. That's how Johns Hopkins should be feeling after a 12-8 win for the Cuse. It's been 3 straight years of the Blue Jays essentially being a confidence boost or a doormat for the Orange. Narratives are consistently reset when SU beats JHU. In each of the past 3 years, Syracuse has used Johns Hopkins as a leaping off point to national contention, while the Jays have consistently spiraled after the Orange games. Those VHS tapes from the 80s are collecting more and more dust, but you gotta keep popping them in because in 2026, this rivalry is dead.
Yeah, Jish, I mean, 6-4 in the last 10. I'm not sure if that's necessarily something I would call dead, but let me give you my sound off. I've been known to draw some pretty ridiculous analogies. You can just ask our executive producer, Helaina Stovin. So it's only fitting for my sound off, I make another one. Syracuse men's lacrosse is basically a car. And Joey Spallina, he's the engine that drives it. When you get in your car, you expect the engine to start. You expect it to keep you running through rain, wind, potholes, whatever the road throws at you. That's what a performance like Spallina's today should be. Reliable and expected. 4 goals and 3 assists, exactly what Princeton head coach Matt Madelon said the best player in the country is supposed to do. Now sure, the rest of the car matters. The defense can be solid, but like a tire, we've seen it go flat. Jimmy McCool is a strong exterior build, but if the shots keep coming, eventually even that starts to dent. That's why Spallina has to be the engine. When other parts start to wear down, he's the one who has to keep this whole thing moving forward. And performances like this, they shouldn't be surprising, they should be expected.
There you have it. There you have it. Your 2 sound offs here on Orange Press Pass. All right, we're not done here on Orange Press Pass. We have another one tonight. How about it for this crew? Let's give them their kudos real quick.
They've been fantastic. You know who hasn't been fantastic, Nico? The Syracuse men's basketball team.
To be honest.
Neither of these teams. They're both terrible. It's basically a battle of a bunch of retirement homes. It's going to be a dread fest to watch. But we'll break down all the coverage here on Orange Press Pass today. I like the Orange to win this one, Jish.
It's likely going to be Adrian Autry's last game in the JMA Wireless Dome with so much change in the front office of Syracuse on the horizon. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last Dome game for Adrian Autry, a Syracuse legend.
Syracuse legend, and you look at this and he's known nothing but Syracuse men's basketball. Going to be a bittersweet night for him.
Yeah, well, you have that. You also have a new athletic director coming up, new chancellor. There's a lot of moving parts in this team. Are there any returners that you would like to see last year based off the game tonight? Who knows?
I don't know, man. Because Sadiq White, questionable. Yeah. Kyan Anthony, not playing, we've come to find out. It's going to be, those would be the 2 that I'd want to come back for Syracuse.
I would like to see Sadiq White back. I think he's been poorly coached just based on the circumstances. He's talented, he's athletic. You know who I don't want to see back, though? Donnie Freeman. I think he's been a bit of a head case for this team. Hasn't been all the way there in ranked matchups.
Makes sense. And Starling is out as well. This is his last game, really, collegiately, out of eligibility All right, that does it here on Orange Press Pass. Join us for the men's basketball game later alongside Jish, Sokolsky, and Nick King. I'm Nico Horning, wishing you a great rest of your night. Syracuse wins it over Johns Hopkins.